On this week's show, we'll be discussing Red Dead Redemption 2, is it coming to Switch? Is a PlayStation Studio ready to collapse? And are subscription services getting better or worse? All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. Your podcast players for this week are myself, Mr. Richie, and my co-host, Mr. Chris. How are you?
Hello, gamers. I'm good, thank you very much. It's been a busy week. And I'm looking forward to sitting down and recapping all the gaming news with our wonderful audience.
Oh, tell me about it. We've actually just been talking about how busy we both are, like outside of video games. Mine's for good reasons.
Games I want to play as well.
Yeah, mine's for good reasons. We're both for good reasons, but mine's getting ready to go on holiday, so I won't be here next week.
Oh,
actually, by the time you're listening to this, I could be I might already be in Paris, depending if you're listening in early. 8 o'clock in the morning, so you could be listening to this on your way into work on Monday while I'm getting ready to fly out.
Bon voyage.
Yeah, bon voyage indeed.
Have you learned any French before
No.
heading over there? Have you been dabbling at all?
No, I'd not even attempted.
Can you order 2 beers?
No.
Yes, you can.
I
Everyone
can't.
can do that.
I can't. I don't know French. I haven't been.
De bière, s'il vous plaît.
Okay, I might have.
I might repeat it back to me now. Go on. De bière, s'il vous plaît.
De bière, s'il vous plaît. I might have been able to guess that anyway.
Merci.
But yeah.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, I might have been able to figure that one out. But last time I think I went to France was with you.
Probably.
Yeah. And that was a long time ago, so yeah. They haven't allowed me back in the country till now. Statute of limitations expired.
Well, it's a well-deserved rest.
Yeah.
A bit of a getaway.
Well, for the
we'll
French.
hold down the fort here. Yeah, well-deserved getaway. But yeah, we've got everything planned. Got a special co-host showing up, so do stay tuned in for next week.
I actually don't even know who that is, so...
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. I might have to
tune
listen
in next week to find out.
Yeah. I'd say I might have to listen to it while I'm away, but I think it's unlikely I'll have time because I'm going to be busy every single minute that I'm at work.
Listen to it with French subtitles.
Yeah.
Learn as you go.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But what I do know is we do have a great show lined up for you this week. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, you like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop of all our amazing content here at GamerGuildTV, such as the ClickerCast, Chris. Tell us about the ClickerCast.
ClickerCast. What's to sell? It's a wonderful show that lines up with another wonderful show, which is HBO's The Last of Us. We're running into our final 2 weeks now of the 7-episode run of Ellie and Joel's adventures together. And obviously, by now, a much larger cast because we're in the second season. Every week, we get together and break it down, discuss the episode, discuss the game comparisons, the plot details, the twists, the differences between the show, and just how very good and quality TV it is indeed. We do it live, so feel free to tune in. And much like the podcast, we may have a special guest lined up for this week for that too. So that'll be a first ever for the ClickerCast. And maybe even the channel. You'll have to stay tuned to find out.
Indeed, it's going to be interesting, that one, because I do know who that one is. But that's one where I am actually definitely going to have to listen to the episode before I make my return. I'll be listening to it at work after I've watched the episode. But
might have even replaced you.
What, full time?
We'll see. See how the audience figures go. See what the numbers are like.
I've been Richie, just in case. But anyway, getting into it. Chris, what have you been playing?
I've been playing more Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think I said last week I'm starting to make serious progress now in the main campaign. The story's really getting into the groove now. A lot of the map has been discovered and cleared out with the little vantage points. I systematically go through and get them. Every little question mark I have to find. So it's a lot of exploration, a lot of looking around. With the main circle of kind of, I think they're called the League, in the game, which is like the main one. I think I've got 2 left of that main kind of corral of people. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of spin-off circles that keep damn appearing, Richie. I know we discussed this last week, but every time I speak to a random stranger, there's like another ring of 4 or 5 people to go and hunt down or talk to or investigate. But I think I'm getting to a good spot where I think because most of the map has now been discovered and the story's building towards something, I feel. And naturally, when you've killed all of the main circle of villains, you're traditionally reaching the end anyway. But yeah, still thoroughly enjoying it. I'm getting a good mix of time with Yasuke and Naoe now, where I think in early doors I said to you I was pretty much playing as Naoe. I still find myself leaning more towards her just because her traversal is so much slicker and her parkour is so much better. When I'm playing as Yasuke, he struggles to get over a fence sometimes because he is a big dude.
He's big, slow, sluggish.
When you're trying to get to like eagle vantage points, sometimes I've climbed like 90% of the building, get to the top ledge, and you can't get over it because of the angle of it, or it's like got an overhang. Whereas now it's got the grappling hook, she's straight up there like a whippet.
That's something I kind of noticed when my girlfriend was playing through it. It feels like it should just be Naoe, but they've also just chucked Yasuke in. It feels like very much the game wants you to play more as Naoe because the way everything's set up in the game, not narratively, but in terms of exploration, etc. So I wonder at what point in the development did they add Yasuke in?
Yeah, I mean, his storyline so far, it seems to be, again, not really spoilers, but Yasuke ends up in Japan because of Portuguese missionaries. He's kind of there as a bodyguard with them, and he ends up getting embroiled in with the local shogun, Nobunaga, who kind of runs most of Japan at that time before his inevitable demise. And then, his storyline kind of doesn't really mirror Naoe's, but you definitely feel like he's there as a secondary character initially. But then as it's kind of unraveling his history with the Portuguese, and by proxy the Portuguese tied to the Vatican and Rome, and then by proxy Templars, his story is the one as it's gone on has become a little bit more interesting, because for me, that's Assassin's Creed. It's the Assassins and the Templars and that whole like religious element to it. Yeah. The game so far with Naoe in the setting of Japan has been very, very light on that story for like 35 hours plus. So to now get to the stage where Yasuke's story is unraveling a bit and I'm seeing more of the traditional Templar stuff, it's pulling me in a little bit closer, because that's what, when I think of Assassin's Creed, I do think of like that Templar cross and Italy and Rome and the kind of, I know it stems from the Ezio being the best trilogy, of course. But
it feels it
reminded me that this game isn't really connected to the rest of them.
Yeah, I've always felt like in the Assassin's Creed like kind of reboot era from Origins. Well, Origins was, this is the origins of the Assassin's Order. Odyssey, which is one of the best, probably if not the best rated game in the franchise from this era, basically has absolutely nothing to do with Assassins or Templars. Valhalla barely does. It feels like it's something like Ubisoft have moved away from, but it's like that's why I feel like the games are at the strongest when it is in that narrative mode. Because I actually think the way they handle like all the circles and assassinations, I think it's actually crap. I don't think it's an interesting way.
It's very busy.
It's very busy, but it's like I just think of going, instead of having the quest log and you're trying to work your way through the narrative, just have a circle on the map and go, okay, I need to find this guy, find a few clues and assassinate him. I find it just a bit boring. I don't know. I just don't find the way they're currently presenting the narrative I don't think they're presenting it in a very interesting way. And they're also moving away from the main themes that made Assassin's Creed great.
Yeah.
It
does beg the question, after all of this, do we see a return to Italy and Rome? Because that definitely feels like the break glass for emergency. Like, could you imagine a modern, like the scale of what Valhalla, Origins and Odyssey and now Shadows have done, but apply it to not even Ezio, but in that era, like back to the roots, where even just playing it is like, the weather dynamics, the setting, that I feel like the nostalgia alone for being back in Italy would just drive numbers for the franchise.
We should point out, incredibly successful game, Shadows. There's no denying that at all.
4 million mark.
We're talking about just personal preference stuff here. I don't think they need to break glass at all. But and I don't think it's a setting issue. I think for me, it's a game mechanic and game design issue. I think they should go stronger into telling a narrative and move away from having this just very free open world exploration kind of thing that they've been doing.
Well, we've got Hex next, which is going to be the horror baked one, which I'm looking forward to. I think Mirage was quite weak, from my opinion.
That's what I've heard.
I am enjoying Shadows. 2 days ago, there was an article that was published by Games Radar that did say Assassin's Creed Shadows has clearly outperformed Assassin's Creed Odyssey in sales and player count, according to Ubisoft. So the numbers are strong for Shadows. Yeah. So we're probably going to wait a good couple of years to see the next big entry. But I guess I can't really think where I'd like them to go next. I do think we're in line for the original being remade. It's been far too long, and it's the only one they've not touched.
I don't want them to remake it in this current engine, though, in this current gameplay design. That's my issue. Where I see after seeing, I've seen a lot of Shadows played, and it looks beautiful. It looks fun. Really, first when the narrative is like doing the heavy lifting, it seems interesting. But then you've got about 30, like maybe 20, 30 hours between these moments. And I have it. I have access to it. I could start playing now, and I'm just not really interested. It should be a game that is like gnawing at me, like, Richie, you need to play this game, but it just isn't. I don't know.
I think a remake of the first one would be a lot more in line with Mirage, where if it keeps everything the first one did so well, but just expands like the part that was quite linear from, like, if you remember the main kind of castle cathedral that you start in, and like the little pathway that you used to go down to get to some of the points in the village. I think that could be expanded out and make it feel more lived in, with more characters around and stuff to explore. But I feel like at its core, it could very much be the same. But again, we'll see. I'm sure Ubisoft will commit to this now. They've spun the franchise out into a different subsidiary, and it's doing well. But yeah, we'll see what the future of that looks like. But I'm guessing probably another 20 hours to get the platinum. So see how long that takes. And there's just plenty of other stuff that I've wanted to play, and just being busy with personal things and about preparing to move house. I've wanted to play Doom this week. Like, traditionally, we probably would have had a first look up on the channel of quite a few games. Expedition 33 was another one that came out. We've got Atomfall was one that I wanted to check out. And they've just came at us at such a clip. Because we've been doing... and obviously we've also been doing the Clickercast for a couple of weeks as well, which takes another night out of our weekly schedules. It's... it's crazy. Just there's so much stacked ready to go.
I'm currently, because I've got an ongoing series with Pokemon Blue, episodes available for members that aren't already available for everyone. And now, because it's coming out weekly, I do need to get on with recording that, so that I could sit down, right, I've got a couple of hours in an evening myself to sit down and record something. Do I go play something like Doom Eternal, or do I use that time to crack on with Pokemon Blue? And I feel like Pokemon Blue is where I need to put the time, because I want to keep that going to completion.
How long have you got left in it, do you think?
It's hard to say. I have 5 badges. So I've got 3 more badges in Elite 4.
You can do that in a day.
It's a very slow pace.
On the plane.
It's a very slow paced game.
Yeah,
it's playing the France. It's an hour. Like, I'm not taking anything to play with me.
That's true. Yeah. And then in terms of just like what's coming up as well, it dawned on me the other day that it's less than a month until the Switch 2 arrives for me as well. So it's like that's a whole probably list of games that are going to rock up as well on my doorstep. So we shall see. Well, I'm not allowed one till I sell my house. My house is still up for sale. So if you're looking for a house, let me know. Sell it to some French people while you're over there. The Northeast Riviera.
Northeast Riviera
is looking pretty good this time. Yeah.
Brown seas, overcast. What more can you want?
What more, indeed.
I know what I want, Chris. An introduction to
the graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news, and as always, our news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p, where you get access to early access to some episodes of Pokemon. You don't have anything currently up for early access, do you, Chris? At the moment?
Not to my knowledge. Again, I'll get to something eventually, but not for now.
Yeah, we do try get some stuff up for early access when it's not time critical in terms of release, up for members. Like Pokemon, my approach to Pokemon is, as soon as an episode is recorded and edited, it's going straight up to members, and it's on a weekly release schedule on the Thursdays. Which actually, after Clickercast, we were talking briefly where that day may move on the Pokemon release date to reaccommodate the weekly live streams. Yeah. But we'll let you know when we know. Anyway, thank you very much for your support. First topic of the week, Helldivers Studio Arrowheads next game may not be with PlayStation.
Dun 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 dun.
So what's going on over at Arrowhead, Chris?
Well, according to Forbes magazine, even though it's now a website, in an era of struggling PlayStation Live service offerings, some of which will never see the light of day, Helldivers, of course, has been probably the most successful that they've ever had. It's their ongoing co-op PvE game where you band together with a bunch of fellow Helldivers, similar to Starship Troopers, and fight bugs, robots, and some rather smart aliens in the latest major update they did just before Christmas. And I absolutely love Helldivers. Rob absolutely adores it as well. I've had some of the best gaming moments in the last kind of couple of years playing that game. And I think for me, it's such a surprise that Sony hasn't kind of put a ring on this development studio. But then it's that thing of they never knew how successful it was going to be. I enjoyed the first Helldivers game. I knew it was fun. I was always going to play the second one. But I don't think anyone within Arrowhead, within Sony, within the gaming world expected to take off the way it did. It's huge. It's almost cemented itself as one of those constant games now, like Apex Legends and such, that it's just always going to have seemingly that audience. And as long as they keep expanding on it, it'll be fine. The reason it's in the news this week, though, is the developers Arrowhead, they've stated that their next game is going to be all theirs. It's not going to be in a partnership with PlayStation, so potentially no more one console exclusivity, and that's via their Discord channel. Yeah, so and I'll quote.
Yeah, go for it.
Quote.
So Shams Georgiani, the CEO of Arrowhead, wrote on their Discord, "Wonderful thing is that thanks to amazing support of you fine people, fine in all caps, Arrowhead's future is quite bright, and we have the freedom to explore some really cool concepts that we couldn't have otherwise. Game 6, our next project, will happen the way it will happen thanks to you, Love Heart. The next game is 100% funded by ourselves, so we'll call 100% the shots." Reading between the lines in that quote, Chris, it feels like if they went to a third-party publisher to fund it, they sometimes might have to bend to the will of that publisher to some ideas, which makes sense because if Sony put up the money, Sony would probably want to have certain things in place. Where with this, we have enough money to fully fund our next game, so why do we need someone else?
Yeah, this is where for me it's a missed opportunity for Sony in particular, just to keep Helldivers ticking away, specifically like a Helldivers 3 in the future, or just to keep this as a games as a service. The kind of reading between the lines for me here is them having 100% of the calling the shots. Yes. And I think that comes down to there's a few decisions, if you recall, in the early weeks of Helldivers where decisions made by Sony scuppered the game to a degree. I remember when they enforced the Sony account login after the game had already been on the market for several weeks, months even, I can't recall.
And
fully.
It had problematic in certain regions.
Yeah, regions that don't have PSN. Yeah, couldn't just have access to the game at all when it was installed. So they pissed off a lot of people, and traditionally the Steam audience, the PC gamers and stuff, banded behind it, and negative reviews started pouring in, which if you're a developer, something that's out of your control is now having a negative effect on how your game's being reviewed publicly. I can kind of see where the frustration will be. We also don't know what Sony was like behind the scenes in terms of this game.
Well, I have a quote.
They didn't really market it, if you remember, as well.
I have another quote because they were asked if there was what Sony were like behind the scenes, as if there was maybe potentially something negative about the Sony partnership on the back of them saying they want 100% fund it themselves. And the response saying, no way, PlayStation are great. There would be no Helldivers if it wasn't for them. We're open to working with them again in the future. They're incredibly dev orientated, solid partners. And this is me just saying it like it is, not blowing smoke up their asses. So it seems like they've had a good relationship with Sony. But it might just be a case of we have a concept for a game that may be a bit out there. Almost like, I'm thinking like a Kojima-esque game where Death Stranding would have happened under Konami. Would Konami went, no, you need to have more, you need more weapons in there, more action or something in there. So it might be one of these kind of things where it's not about Sony being a bad partner, but the creative decisions they want to make might seem risky to Sony financially.
Yeah, it's an odd one to think about because there's so many different dynamics. It's obviously Arrowhead have made their money now, and as they've said, hopefully that's more than enough to plan and conceptualize and begin development on the next game, and that's without them having to take or lock into contracts with other parties. They do obviously say that Helldivers wouldn't have happened without PlayStation, so I think if we ever saw a third entry, although no time soon, it probably would come to it. For me, I'd like to see them negotiate getting this onto other platforms. I think Sony would be very clever if they look at the success Xbox is having on their own platform, and with the imminent launch of the Switch 2, I think Helldivers 2 would massively benefit from a Switch 2 edition, just to have it on the move. Like, yes, it's on PC and you can play it via Steam Deck and such, but I think Switch's audience that's going to come with it, it's such a game that it's not so high graphic fidelity. I think it could port to the Switch no problem. And I'm thinking that's a whole other fan base of potentially people who are going to get into the Nintendo Switch 2 anew, and they're going to be looking for titles. If you've got like Game of the Year award-winning games like Helldivers coming that way, like we'll talk about later in the episode, I think that could be a good way of Arrowhead bringing in even more money to fund whatever title they look to go towards next.
And if notoriously difficult to run games like Cyberpunk are running well on the Switch too, I feel like Helldivers 2 should be fine. Why one concern with the Switch 2 is the Switch 1's netcode and wireless capabilities are kind of shit. Switch 2 feels like, because they're focusing quite heavily, a bit more on online features with things like game streaming, voice chat and stuff. It feels like that stuff should be better. But for an online game, I'd always have a bit of a question mark of Nintendo till I see it in action.
Yeah. It's I mean, there's nothing to say Sony couldn't come at them with a bag of money now and acquire them still, or they just go independent. There's also nothing to say that the next IP will be as good.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, Helldivers was okay. Arrowhead aren't known for having great games prior to this. It just happens to be that Helldivers 2 with the switch to third person and the zeitgeist it captured at that moment in time, it very much strikes me as one of them lightning in a bottle moments. Look how hard Bungie are finding it now, breaking away from that Destiny mold. I think Marathon's going to really, really struggle when it comes out, and that's got a lot more money behind it than Helldivers does. So, yeah, I think we'll see more. Personally, what I'd love to see is a campaign mode. The world in which they've created is so fun with the different planets and the references they could make to the areas. Now, I just think it's primed for, like, right, give me Helldivers 3, all the great stuff that we've currently got going, better graphics and everything, of course, but just have that through story of actual, like, some characters we can fall in love with, some wacky soldiers, some blockhead idiot ones, some meat for the fodder who are going to, like, inevitably die at some point in the campaign. I just think they could have really good fun with it, because the one thing Helldivers has had is that there's a really good sense of humour throughout the whole thing, from their marketing department, their social accounts, to just the in-game jokes that they do. Do you want a cup of Liberty?
Yeah.
It's like all little things like that. It's like they were a thing. So I think them pulling away from Helldivers, it's risky. I think I totally back them being independent, and I can't wait to see what they make next. But yeah, I feel like opportunity missed for PlayStation, considering this is their only real live service game that's done any well, and we'll talk about that more in the next story. But yeah, and I still can't wait for you to play it with Richie when it inevitably goes on PlayStation Plus soonish, hopefully. I think by the end of the summer,
Yeah,
it could go
it
free to
feels
play.
like it's went a bit quieter. And I think if they're going, if they're going to do another DLC or something, maybe it's time to get it on PlayStation Plus to just juice them numbers a little bit.
Yeah, and again, it's that thing where if we look at the history of games like this, they always end up free to play at some point, right?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like when the numbers become so diminished that it's like, right, it makes sense for us to now get that boom in numbers. Even if it's benefiting PlayStation Plus subscriptions, like it's a win-win for Sony there. But like I said, if it's potentially lined up for the Switch too, but I think Sony, for all of the great stuff that they do, they don't make as many business proactive decisions, it seems, in the last couple of years. And I think if you were Team Xbox and Helldivers belonged to Xbox, we'd see this on everything by now.
I was reading...
But it doesn't work the other way.
I was reading an article earlier, actually. I think about... isn't pushed swear. I think about roughly 30% of PlayStation's revenue comes from microtransactions, and that was the biggest chunk from their recent sales call.
Yeah.
So this is clearly why they're pushing games as a service, because single player experiences do have microtransactions in them nowadays. Nowhere near as much as games as a service. So you're not... Yeah. And so games like Helldivers absolutely is perfect for that. But crucially, Helldivers 2 doesn't feel like a platform designed to sell you promote microtransactions. It feels like an incredible experience. It's an online cooperative experience rather than a platform to sell you a new shiny gun skin. That's why I feel like Marathon goes down, because it feels like the current buzzwords in like get the games as a service thing. It's an extraction shooter. It's first person. It's with a focus on player versus player.
PvP.
And you just like go, if you're not into that stuff, you just go, ugh. Like.
Oh, but Richie, it's got loads of neon colours. Like, think of the pinks and the yellows and the greens.
Yeah.
And the inevitable cat ears that are going to come with it.
It feels like, I don't know, it just feels 10 years too late. Like, I feel like that...
Saturated.
Yeah, the market's already saturated. It's like, it's similar to what happened with Concord. And to be honest, I thought Concord had more personality than Marathon.
I mean, we don't really know yet because we haven't had a chance to play it, but that's again, it's not going to be a free-to-play game. And I think it's just it's the race to the bottom happened 10 years ago with the likes of Fortnite and stuff, and Apex and PUBG. The fact that we saw it with the App Store when Apple launched with iOS, the race to 99p apps, and then it was free. And then microtransactions replace paid apps. So they'll give you everything for free, but everything's behind a paywall. Or if you want the premium edition, or the plus edition, or the booster edition, or the annual pass, it's all about that. And unfortunately, when you race to the bottom, you can't go any further than bottom. And this is where we're at now, where if you drop a game that's $30, $40, $50, $60, is today's generation going to bother with that when they've got their free games?
Exactly.
Mum and Dad are like, well, how much does it cost? 60 quid. Well, what about the free ones? Good point, Mum and Dad. Anyway, back to playing Fortnite. It's like, it's such a weird place in the industry.
With Helldivers, rather than just being another, like kind of neon-coloured shooter online PvP thing, they went, right, we're not going to do that. It's going to be an online, it is games as a service, but we're going to be focused on cooperative play. You're not going to be playing against other people, you are going to be playing with them, and from that a positive community formed. So
absolutely,
how many stories have you told me about you just working as a team, people actually working as a team, dragging people through matches to helping them out because you're playing with them rather than against them.
Yeah, it's great. It just has such a good... The gameplay loop is just ultimately simple fun.
Yeah.
There's nothing really like you when we finally get you on the sticks for that game, you'll know what to do within 10 minutes and you'll be laughing your ass off within 10-15 minutes of just how much chaos is going on.
Yeah, and then there's the kind of meta elements where you're playing with everyone else who's playing. Don't you have the world map where progress gets made and stuff?
Mm-hmm. And that's what the socials had so fun. Like, I remember I was there, Richie, Malvern Creek last year when we had to take it from the automatons, I think it was. They were pushing on our eastern front, I felt like I was there in the dugout, and we had the numbers, the entire global force was behind it, and we saved it. We lost many men, Richie, but Malvern Creek was saved. And now it's like a military. I think they even put up like a statue in game of like the soldiers we lost that day.
It's a living, breathing game.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it's so effective, and they rinsed it with social media so well, and which is why I think it won't go away, because it's got that ever present live service element, but you don't feel like you're getting your wallet ripped out from under you for wanting to play.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like just another PvP matchup, so you can get some points. So then, after you play it, you know what, I will drop money on this new skin for the new battle pass that's coming out. As you said, you and a bunch of probably thousands upon thousands of people across various different servers took something, and now they've raised a statue in your honour.
Absolutely.
And that's become part. It's become part of the story of the game. It's developed.
The soundtrack's banging as well. Yeah. That was one of the proper smile on my face moments when we went to the PlayStation Orchestra. It did feel like it was shoehorned in quite late, because they had no like imagery or anything for it. But with the orchestral stuff behind it, I just could shut my eyes and I was there. I was in a hell pod, heading down to a planet surface, ready to liberate everything from the bugs. But yeah, it's quite healthy. 83,000 players playing it right now on Steam still. So that's obviously not including PlayStation numbers. It gets around 100,000 on like a 24-hour peak. If we look at Apex Legends, I'd say.
If a 24-hour peak's around 100,000 people playing, that's very, very solid, to be honest.
Yeah, and remember the game's like, what, 2-year-old now?
Yeah, and it's not currently at its peak. There's no like immediate new content about to drop that we're aware of. So people have lapsed waiting for new content and coming back in. So you're probably at the trough of that peak and trough kind of cycle.
Yeah. Apex Legends has got about 127. So it's about 30k behind Apex Legends, which I think, again, for a lesser successful game, I guess, that's what's expected. Is PUBG still one that people play?
I don't know. I think
maybe. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. PUBG is still just short of 250,000 right now live.
Feather.
Peak PUBG and a 24-hour peak is 750k. So PUBG is still the shit.
Yeah.
Not quite when it launched 7 years ago, which I still want to point out. 7 years ago when PUBG came out, 3.2 million was its 24-hour peak player.
It popularised the genre, and then Fortnite went, we can sell this to children.
That's impressive still, though. Yeah. We always enjoy PUBG, to be fair.
Yeah, I enjoy PUBG way more than Fortnite. I think it felt it did feel a bit heavy and clunky, but it felt a bit more grounded.
It is clunky. It's part of the charm.
Yeah.
Part of the charm.
Yeah, indeed. But I think if we stick around with the games as a service stuff, because the next news story does relate to PlayStation, because Haven Studios founder and head Jade Raymond has left before the launch of Fairgames. Never a good look when the head of the studio departs before a game comes out.
Absolutely not. The game's also reportedly delayed. No surprise, but still in development. But yeah, Bloomberg confirmed, which will be Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, confirmed her departure. PlayStation, Sony, Haven haven't given a reason. The report also states that an external test of the game took place recently, and some developers were concerned about how it's going to be received, no doubt, after the back of Concord. The game's now been delayed from this autumn to spring 2026, just like Grand Theft Auto 6. So we ain't seen it this year.
No.
But obviously we very, very close to the kind of the origins of Fairgames from our Google Stadia days, if anyone remembers. So Jade Raymond was hired by Google probably 6-ish years ago now, 5-6 years. So with the exception of Stadia, part of the Stadia Games and Entertainment team, they brought on loads of big people with impressive CVs when it came to games, and Jade Raymond was one of them. She was obviously plucked up from Ubisoft.
She was heading the games division for Stadia.
Yeah, she'd worked on titles like why am I blanking? Assassin's Creed originally for Ubisoft. Her last game she worked on with EA was Battlefront 2 back in 2017. So Jade Raymond, now having moved over to Stadia, incubated the Stadia Games Entertainment team that was going to make if you remember, Richie, it was like a cloud service-based game that could only be powered by the kind of backing of all these cloud servers.
Yeah, it feels
like be a very unique thing.
That feels like nowadays quite a lot of hyperbole.
Yeah. But yeah, it was incubated. It was in the works. She built a team from scratch, and then obviously we know what happened to Google Stadia. However, when that did fold, she was quickly snapped up by PlayStation, formed Haven Studios. She formed Haven Studios with those ex-employees from Google. Immediately after forming, was purchased by PlayStation, so they were snapped up. And again, they showcased at the PlayStation Summer Showcase probably 2 years ago now. We saw Fairgames revealed in a trailer, which was I'm going to say it, Richie, an extraction shooter where you steal from the rich and give to the poor, Robin Hood style. And she's now left, having not put out a game since the mid-2000 teens. And I feel like Jade Raymond's just stuck in this loop like Amy Hennig, who hasn't had anything since Uncharted 3.
Oh, that's a long run.
And we're now on a decade-long run, and they've jumped around, they've moved to studios. And now she's departed Haven, which means it's the third game in a row, technically, she's been working on, but yet to ship. So she's had an incredible career so far, but it's seemingly stuck in limbo thanks to the bad decisions on her part or the people who've hired them, and obviously the collapse of certain things. But as you said, it's not a good look when your game is yet to launch yet, and especially if you're the co-founder as well. Like, you got to imagine that leadership over there right now must be in turmoil, only emphasised by Concord's epic failure. Like, how many times do we compare Concord to Fairgames? And that was one of our criticisms, is they looked virtually the same in terms of the gameplay and the stylization. And is this going to be another Sony live service game that they just pull the plug on?
Yeah, I mean...
And go, you know what? It's not worth the effort.
I always feel with these sort of games where they're very much not our cup of tea, we can only speak honestly about what we see.
Yeah.
But I find them very non-memorable. Like, I just look at them and go, okay, that looks like a game. It's probably fun. But they are the sort of game for me where we've had fun on the stream, and then I would never think about it again. And I never think about in between news stories about them. And to be perfectly honest, rarely are the news stories good. You very rarely do you hear like a game like Fairgames behind things look amazing behind the scenes. People can't wait. The developers can't wait to get gamers' hands on this. The press are buzzing over it. You're just hearing silence, then the head of the studio's left.
So, to boil it down then, do you think this game's coming out? Whether it's this year or next year?
I think it is. Sony have put a lot of money already into this game, in the development and the purchasing of the studio.
Do you think they've paid that much, though? Because it was only probably a really small team and they hadn't produced anything, so I think they probably got them for quite a cheap deal.
Maybe.
Like, how much power do you have to negotiate with PlayStation when they're like, right, you've put nothing out yet? You've got, I think at the time when they bought Haven, they were only like 20 to 30 people strong. They obviously saw what they had in development in Fairgames, and Sony were like, yep, this fits with our live service approach we're currently in the middle of. Let's buy them, incubate them from within. And then another couple of years. Remember, it's been a while.
Yeah, it feels like...
I don't know. I just think this is going to be Concord 2.0.
Yeah, it almost feels like these kind of live service games are a little too long in incubation. From concept to execution, they feel a bit too long in the tooth. Because by the time...
They missed the boat.
Yeah, they missed the boat very quickly. Or the boat's there, but the boat's full. So you're clinging on the sides, and hopefully you get the odd hell divers where they found a little spot in the boat that no one had noticed.
Yeah.
But I don't see that with Fairgame. I didn't see that with Concord. I don't see it with Marathon. And we are assuming there's bad stuff going on with Jade Raymond leaving. She could have just got another opportunity somewhere else. That was too good to turn down. It could have been personal reasons. We do not know the reason, so we do need to put that out there. But it doesn't look good.
Well, it's the fact that they haven't said Like if she was leaving for
personal reasons,
other reasons,
you just say personal reasons.
Probably say just put a statement, or a tweet or whatever on your socials. Say we wish her the best, all this. But it's one of them. Is it a case of when they bought the studio as a co-founder? Is this one of them contracts that you sign where Sony take over the studio? You have to see out a certain period of time contractually before you can jump ship with a big bag of money. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't buy Haven and then she leaves the next day taking, I don't know, 200k or whatever it might be. It might be one of them where she's just served the legal time she has to before going, I'm out. Thanks for the buyout. Thanks for acquiring my founded studio.
I'm not liking the way this is going. This is not the vision I had for the studio. The vision's changed. That kind of thing. We assume that Fairgames is what she was working on for Stadia. It might be completely different. It might have been repurposed multiple times before we first saw eyes on this. You have no idea. We have literally no idea.
It doesn't seem terrible, though, because Sony did respond to Bloomberg saying, Jade Raymond has been an incredible partner and visionary force in founding Haven. We're deeply grateful for her leadership and contributions, and we wish her all the best in the next chapter. PlayStation added it's committed to supporting Haven Studios and excited to continue the journey. Again, I'm pretty sure they said all the same stuff about Concord and Fire Sprite. But
what would you do if she popped up back at Ubisoft? Because that's where she kind of made a name.
I mean, by the sounds of it, Ubisoft could do with some visionary leadership right now.
Well, yeah, so I had credits for Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed 2, speculation Assassin's Creed 1 remake. She was a producer on that game. Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist, so she's got a history with Splinter Cell, a dormant game. Watch Dogs, again, that was an IP that just seemed to Ubisoft have no idea what they were doing with. Assassin's Creed Unity, that was a bit of a mess when it came out, but I think it is a lot better remembered nowadays.
It's a good game, yeah.
Far Cry. So basically, all of Ubisoft's major hitters that they are still working on as their kind of principal games outside of things like the sports and racing kind of stuff are Jade Raymond's had been involved with.
Still interesting.
But we are talking mid-2000s to mid-2010s here, though. So it's been a while.
Yeah. But I think the whole mantra, it's one of them awkward things now where because the zeitgeist and the conversation around it is so tainted, I feel like it's one of them where it's better to just cut the cord because it's just, you know what I mean? It's kind of like I feel like marathons get at the moment where it's like, oh shit, should have just done a Destiny 3. You know what I mean? I think just between the audiences, like our generation don't feel like they really want it. When you're talking our Discord, there's a couple of people, but I don't think anyone's like massively hyped up for Bungie's Marathon or Fairgames. But then again, back to the Fortnite generation, don't think they're that interested in a Fairgame spin-off. Might play it for a weekend, and if Sony follow the trend and charge 30-40 quid for it, you pot out of luck.
That's it.
So I could see us by Christmas covering a story saying Sony's decided to can it.
I think if that happens, Haven goes down with it, but at the moment, the head of the studio isn't there, so that would probably be fairly easy for them to do. So that's interesting how that might play out. But you know what else is interesting, Chris? Our PlayStation Plus catalogue for May. What
is it interesting though?
It was a segue. Sometimes you use what you've got.
You do.
So our PlayStation Plus extra catalogue for May 2025 is Sandland, Soul Hackers 2, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted Full-Time Edition, Battlefield 5, Stalker Legends of the Zone Trilogy, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, Humankind, played on Stadia. We played it before it even came out. Story Seasons, A Wonderful Life, Gloomhaven Mercenaries Editions. I don't think... and the PS Plus Premium gets Battle Engine Aquila, which is a PS2 game. I don't think it's utterly trash, this, to be honest. Soul Hackers 2 is...
not the claimable games.
Yeah. Soul Hackers 2 and Sandland are games that I've kept an eye on. a bit. Soul Hackers is Atlas, so from the guys who make Persona. So I am interested in exploring more of their catalogue that I've never played before.
Yeah.
So there's and Sandland, I think, might have been written by Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball fame.
Yeah.
And as a Dragon Ball fan, that also then that's where my interest comes in. But there again, not enough to actually buy either game.
No, there's nothing really for me. I think Humankind's obviously great in its own field. Battlefield 5 is decent. It's not the best. I'd prefer Battlefield 1. Like you said, Sandland. The Stalker trilogy is a good get because it only came out last year, and that's again the kind of the core initial 3 Stalker games as everyone waits on the next big release. But yeah, I think it's extra titles. It's added to the library. Play them if you see fit. I think the biggest one for me to take away from this month is that there's 22 games expiring tomorrow when the show goes live, so Tuesday, which is one of the worst service updates I think we've had. I think there's a lot of outlets covering this, mostly because there's some big titles leaving.
Oh, yeah, there is.
But for me, there's titles leaving that are now no longer playable. So for anyone who's fancying playing these, today is your chance. GTA 5 is leaving, but it probably will be back in the future in the build-up.
You can buy it for about £3 probably nowadays anyway.
Oh, yeah. Resistance Fall of Man on PS3, Resistance 2, couple of other ones, Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Lego Marvel, Ghost Runner, probably another big one, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Jenny the Savage Planet, Enter the Gungeon, Batman Arkham Knight, and Infamous Second Son is leaving.
That is a weird one.
There's a couple of weird ones. Infamous Second Son leaving, again, trying to read between the lines. Maybe there's like an anniversary coming up, maybe there's a remaster coming up and they're trying to take them out before there's a big announcement. This is all first party, so why would you take Infamous out when it's Sucker Punch?
An anniversary coming up. The anniversary was last year. The 10 years anniversary was last year. A remaster could be a thing, but that doesn't. I don't think that absolves them. I think that actually just because I'm very much pro remake, pro remaster, but leave the originals intact. So this is then making the one of the originals less accessible. And if the reason they're pulling it is to launch a remaster, it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, there's no one out there going to go buy Infamous Second Son like on a whim 10 years after the fact. So your saturation point for people buying that's so gone. And it still looks great on PS5. It looked great on PS4 back in the day.
Awesome game.
But as your first party studio, this is with Xbox, like you wouldn't take anything out of Game Pass because why would you? They're your games, you license them, you own the studio still. Just why? Just keep it there is a really great pillar to have in your catalogue.
The only thing I could think of is there like a licensing agreement for some assets of some music or something in there that needs to be reviewed, or again, as I said, if you go on the very negative view, they're removing this so they can bring out a remaster. Because Sony and maybe struggling a bit to get the volume of content first party, because you're looking at what Xbox are doing at the moment first party, they're getting quite a bit out there. But with the problems of Sony going heavy into games as a service and seemingly backtracking, they've got a bit of a gap in the library where remasters could fill the void a bit.
Yeah, they've struggled a little bit. They seemingly are in the rate that Xbox are putting out titles. The biggest one for me, though, which really is the kicker, is Resistance Fall of Man.
I don't know why I thought you were about to say Enter the Gungeon then. There is actually a first look on the channel of Enter the Gungeon.
There is. The Resistance ones in particular, because these are the 2 PS3 games, which means, once again, first party. So they're owned by PlayStation. It's Insomniac this time. So they ain't messing with Resistance. We know that because we've seen the entire slate through Wolverine to Spider-Man to Venom to X-Men. Yet now, once again, these games are now unplayable for another generation. You need a PlayStation 3 to now play Resistance 1 and 2.
Sony need to do a few things for me. First of all, get some form of PlayStation emulation for these games working natively on PS5. So you can play these games on your PS5 via maybe. So you load up Resistance Fall of Man. You think like you're playing on PS5. You actually emulate using a PS3 emulator layer to do it. I don't see why the PS5 shouldn't be able to handle something like that. Let me know in the comments if I'm completely wrong and the PS5 is nowhere near spec to do it. Because emulation is surprisingly intensive. 2, for the streamed version, give full access to the PSN features like screenshots. You can't stream a game on PSN and take a screenshot or take a video. And I've literally watched my girlfriend playing Ratchet and Clank 2, I think she was playing. When to take a screenshot, can't.
Yeah.
Why?
It's the way it works.
It shouldn't be. It feels like that's shoddy, to be honest. It feels like...
It's the way they mess with the controls, isn't it? For when you're in streaming mode.
I get...
The controller's trying to replicate a PlayStation 2/3 controller.
Yeah, but it comes up saying, like, the touchpad does the start and select, so your capture button's still live.
Yeah. I mean, you should just be able to capture what's on the screen.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
simplest things
you can capture this stuff on the PS3, you can capture it on the PS5, but when you stream a PS3 game on PS5, you can't. It's a missing feature, guys. Like... It's the same as me giving Xbox shit for not having Game Pass now in the main Xbox app. It should be there when they brought this out. But anyway,
but we are missing the point though. That's 2 fantastic games from a franchise unplayable after the 20th of May. So there you go. There's again another classic PlayStation franchise unaccessible to anyone who has a PS5 or a PS4. Right?
I should have bought that PS3, shouldn't I? When we the game that conference thing.
Yeah. You'd like Resistance as well. Yeah. One day we'll play it as a retro.
I think what saw me in not buying it is, one, the conversation with my girlfriend not wanting to go halves and I had no money, and 2, I think it just end up on a shelf. I wouldn't actually use it that much. The novelty of having it would be great, but then when would I actually play it?
Time. When you're tired.
Exactly. So one day I will get it. One day. And one day... PlayStation will continue to increase the price of the PS5 as a result of Trump's tariffs, and that is it this day?
No. Do you read these articles before we...
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends how much time I have.
It's like, are they doing it now? Are they doing it now? No, they've confirmed that they're considering increases in relation to Trump's tariff implementation, which we've seen Nintendo talk about it roughly. We know Xbox have done it. Xbox have implemented theirs. The price has gone up to a point where I think in the United States, purchasing a Xbox Series X, the 2 terabyte Stardust edition or whatever it was, Midnight Stardust, I can't remember what it was called. You know, the really sexy one that has like the spatter paint effect on it. That went up, which means that you can get the PS5 Pro, I think, for cheaper than you can an Xbox Series X 2 terabyte, which is baffling. But we are in this weird, fucked up world where if you buy a console day one now, that's probably the cheapest you'll ever get it.
Yeah.
Which is not the way the industry's worked our entire life. Electronics get cheaper. They become easier to manufacture. The parts become cheaper. Distribution networks are set up. Discount sales happened. Christmas, Easter, summer, Black Friday. Not now. We've seen increases already. If you remember, the base digital edition went up by £40 in the UK earlier on this year. PlayStation Plus also went up in several countries and various territories. I think the US has been exempt from a price rise so far, but guess what? It's their president who's fucking around with everything now. So it should come back and bite them on. I think Sony expects roughly 100 billion yen, $680 million in tariffs to hit them with the current forecast. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
600 million loss they have to find just because someone's twiddling with the abacus. Sony's CFO Lin Tao said the company is considering passing on the impact of those tariffs to the bottom line, which for that much money, sometimes as a business, you don't have a choice. Yeah. And the easiest way to make that up is just crank up the cost of your products. You might take losses on people buying them, but ultimately, if your tech's in demand, which it is, because they confirmed earlier this week that it's sold 77.7 million PS5s since launch, it's very much the front runner. It's beating Xbox 3-1. The Switch 2 is about to enter the market, which could change things a little bit. but it's having a crack, and it's on fire at the moment. So if you put the price up and people buy it regardless, it's a shrewd business move that's going to soften that blow. But it just shows you the state of the world right now. It costs too much to make games, it costs too much to buy games, it costs too much to buy consoles.
And when you start slapping tariffs and stuff, things that are already insanely expensive and working actually quite precarious financial situation, business models, you really harm them. I just don't see the benefit. I don't see the benefit of what's going on. Like, who benefits from this? Like, because
rich people, Richie. Rich people.
Yeah, true. But the rich people who invest in Sony, well, they're probably not benefiting. To be fair, I am a very much cynical and think that I feel like they could the wealthiest people in the business can take a hit. They could actually accept a profit reduction or profit freeze.
Yeah.
But they don't. They protect continuing growth over all else, which means that sometimes the price of the product goes up quicker than it needs to. So people like the consumers get hit the hardest to protect the people who've got the investments. Yeah. I am very cynical with this stuff because it happens all the time.
It's just mad to think we're in a world now where me buying the Switch 2 for $429, I think I got it for, with Mario Kart included. $429 could be a bargain come Christmas. I mean, we know how much Mario Kart on its own is.
Yeah.
So it's actually, you save money by getting the bundle. Come Christmas, I think the Switch could be $450, if not $499.
Yeah, the interesting one actually, I think with the Switch, the difference between the Switch and the PlayStation is PlayStation is centered. Well, we see it as a Japanese company, is actually set up in America and run from America.
Yeah.
Nintendo is run from Japan. So Japan shipping to the UK isn't impacted by these tariffs. Sony shipping a PlayStation to the UK is, even if it's not built in America, because that's where the business is located. So you have that kind of Nintendo. Well, that's why I think didn't the Switch pre-orders get pulled in America for a little while because
they got delayed. Yeah, there's been a lot of rumors of the components and parts being massively shipped in bulk to kind of prepare for this thing. So if you've already got them on site, you've already got them through customs. Yeah. They're covered. It's saved.
They had to pull the pre-orders down until they could figure out the impact, so they know what to charge.
Yeah, and they've went ahead with regular pricing, but it just shows you it's such a volatile situation right now for every element of life, and I know everyone feels it, and our audience do as well. But it just baffles me to think that if you when we bought our PS5s and our Xboxes early doors, they cost more now than we bought them for several years ago.
Yeah. So should we sell ours?
You can make a profit potentially. I don't know if you. I was watching. So Ryan McCaffrey, who hosts the Xbox podcast Unlocked over at IGN, he's like a huge GTA fan. That's one of his top 10 games of all time. So when the new one got delayed till next year, he went and traded his base original PS5 in, which he's had for 5+ years now, to GameStop or somewhere, Walmart maybe. He traded it in for a PS5 Pro because he wants to experience GTA 6 at its best, and I think it's safe to say with Xbox seemingly not having a mid-generation upgrade, the Pro is going to be the best place to play it natively. The PC version of GTA is probably not going to be out for another year or two beyond. Rockstar are notorious for having bad PC support early doors. So
which is insane,
said
to be
on
honest.
It is. He said on his IGN shows this week that basically he's gone out because of Xbox decisions and tariff decisions. He's gone out this past week and bought a PS5 Pro a year ahead of time because Sony probably will inevitably put the price of everything up again. So they've got a sale out of him a year ahead of when he would have probably bought it because of the current market conditions. And weirdly enough, the trade-in they gave him for his base PS5 was about $370, I think. And he probably only paid $499 for it. So after having it for half a decade, he's not made much of a loss.
True, but
in a trade-in at all.
You kind of have to counterbalance that against the increase in price of the PS5 Pro. So they're both inflated. So while his initial investment, he's not made that much of a loss on, his subsequent investment is higher than it would have been.
Yeah.
So I think it nets out.
He's getting a brand new device still, isn't he? That's future proofed for what he wants it for. Which, if he knows he's going to get one, let's have a look at say CEX in the UK, an original PS5 disc version. How much did we pay for them when we bought them?
Around 500,
479. Yeah. 479. I feel like, give or take, just short of 500.
Let's be generous and we'll call it 500.
Yeah, they're doing trade-ins for vouchers at the moment for 243 credit, 171 cash.
It's about half price.
Yeah.
How much is a PS5 Pro?
PS5 Pro to trade in or to sell?
To buy.
To buy 2 terabyte. Don't know.
Terabyte.
Discless is $650.
No, in the disc one.
I don't think the Pro comes with a disc, does it? You have to buy the disc drive separate.
The disc drive is £70 from PlayStation.
So you're talking over £700. It's pricey, that.
Yeah.
Don't think I'll be getting a Pro this time around. I remember when I got my PS4 Pro.
610.
I traded in my base model.
610 used as well for the PlayStation from CEX for a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Madness. But
I'm not ever getting one of them. Even if I could afford it, I just don't think it's worth it. Yes, it is better. Your games will look better. They will play better, but I just don't think that level of... It goes back to the handheld console arguments. Like, yeah, I could buy a Steam Deck, but I don't. For what I need, I don't think the value's there for the Xbox side of things. So,
yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Then you've just got, I guess, to kind of curtail this conversation. It's just that Game Pass on the other side, like the value in that, as we talk about PlayStation Plus kind of shit in the bed a little bit, and we talk about the price rise of consoles going up, the value of Game Pass and Xbox, I think, is just increasing tenfold. Like every other month, like when these big titles come out, like if you look at just this year alone, between like South of Midnight, you've got now Gears of War Reloaded coming out. We've had Avowed. We've got what are you playing?
Oblivion.
Oblivion. You got the Outer Worlds later on this year. You've got Gears of War coming. Not Gears of War. We have got Gears of War coming. Call of Duty, sorry, later on this year as well.
Club Skew Expedition 33. That's Game Pass.
Yes, game of the year contender.
Towerborn.
Towerborn. Atomfall as well. You've got games that haven't even came out yet. You've got July, Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 coming. Hollow Knight Silksong, the indie game much awaited, it's rumoured for this year still.
Gears of War Reloaded. That's August this year.
It just feels like there's so many things that they're doing right.
Outer Worlds 2. There's just
That's spread in between the new Ninja Gaiden game. All the stuff like we're going to see next month. There's an Xbox showcase the Sunday after the Summer Games Fest, where they're probably going to have a stealth drop or two or something that's coming at the end of the year. There's a Forza game probably somewhere. And it just feels like, compared to where we're talking about PlayStation, it's like, well, what have we got?
Is it
Indiana Jones? Oh, wait, that was Xbox. Forza? Oh, wait, that was Xbox.
Big question.
It just feels like everything that's coming out.
Important question we need to answer. Is it finally time that they remaster Skyrim again?
It's probably overdue one, yeah.
Yeah, because Oblivion's doing really well, so it makes sense after you've remastered Oblivion, which is Elder Scrolls 4, to remaster Elder Scrolls 5 again.
Makes sense.
Again.
Why not?
Do I need another again? I think I might throw another one in there.
But it's like there's a ton of games we don't know about coming to Game Pass yet, but as someone, again, who we spoke about there, the cost implications of consoles and stuff now, what we said about Google Stadia over 5 years ago, Richie, when we sat down and said, why is it such a good prospect? And it was like playing on the tech you already own. Or maybe if you can't afford the most expensive tech, you can buy something that's reasonably affordable and it will run almost as well via the cloud. And we're in that place now where the harsh reality of it is like I have spent so little on games in the last year or two. And I'm at that point where I'm making very conscious decisions not to spend money.
Yeah, because everything in life at the moment is so expensive. It's like, you have to be a bit more pragmatic with your spending.
You really do. And I have a child now, and I'm moving house, and everyone goes through those things.
To go back to the topic of like the strengths of Game Pass, you have to look into beyond just the games that are coming, which far outstrip the quality of games you're getting from PlayStation Plus. Not even comparable. When you're looking at Xbox is getting first party and third party brand new titles, Game of the Year contenders, and things like Oblivion and Claire Obscure coming day and date. And this is going from someone who has literally paid money to play Oblivion on PlayStation. You can also have to add in things like the news partnership with LG TVs. You mentioned the price of hardware. You buy a TV, a new LG TV. You buy a controller. Job done, crack on. Do you want to play Gears of War Reloaded? You can. Guess what? It's in the subscription that you probably got a month off when you bought the TV.
It's... And again, it's coming from a place where we've lived and breathed this kind of industry and this conversation, and we're at that apex point ourselves where we're not the next generation coming through, but for all Xbox and Microsoft are in third place from hardware sales,
looking at the
software sales, and ultimately for long-term survival as consoles get more expensive and kind of maybe price out the average person, PCs aren't getting any cheaper again. They are... Seemingly, we've been saying it for some time, I think, they are set up arguably better for the future than the other ones are, and we just can't see it yet because no one can predict the future.
It's bizarre, I think, at the moment, the landscape, because Nintendo are doing the Switch 2, and it's pretty much every checkbox of what I wanted from the Switch 2. Give me the Switch, just better in every single way. Job done.
Yeah.
And they're kind of operating their own niche. PC gaming is always going to be doing its own thing. Very strong. Best place to play games if you have the money to spend on the level of hardware. Yes, if you want to be a pro Minesweeper, you can do that. If you want to play God knows what with ridiculous mods, you can do that. PC gaming has that for you. It comes with its own drawbacks, but I think PlayStation is oddly in the most precarious position at the time of recording, because they're still so dependent on their own hardware, which Xbox are very much not as much anymore. Their hardware is getting hammered at the moment in terms of tariffs, that they're potentially having to put up the price again this year for the second time. And I think first-party offerings have been relatively weak this generation, or at least they've been sparse and not as beloved as I feel the PS4 era ones were.
It feels like that way, isn't it? And I think we know ourselves.
And we're probably past the halfway mark of the generation now.
Yeah, 2019 it came out. We're 6 years in, or we're in year 6.
Yeah.
Baffling.
So it's an interesting situation where coming into this generation, Xbox seem way behind. But their pivot in terms of their business model, I feel like it's proven dividends. I don't know what it's doing financially, but from a consumer point of view, all you need to do is get me that bloody handheld Xbox, and I'm a happy man in terms of Team Green. They're giving me the games I want to play, games that I want to play that I don't have time to play. They're giving me great value for money.
And some of us are even double dipping. In terms of, like, I haven't bought Indiana Jones on its PlayStation launch because I've been busy with Shadows, but I want that game to get the platinum. So I played it on Xbox Game Pass. I got the taster for it, and then now I'm going to go when it's a more reasonable price. I'll pick it up on PlayStation, but they'll get my cash for it. How many people? What was it? 1.5 million people went and bought Forza last week.
Exactly.
That was a dead and buried. Well, not dead and buried, but it was an old ass game that wasn't turning much profit for Xbox.
So I suppose
safe to say
PlayStation do well in that front, but that's then still
they'll take a cut.
They're taking the cut, but then that's oddly enough Microsoft propping them up.
Yeah. Shocking.
Yeah. So it's an interesting state of the industry where none of the major players are pursuing the same business model, which I think may be the first time, at least in our lifetime, that all major players in the console market are doing stuff that are very discreet from each other in terms of their approach.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've mentioned Red Dead 2, Chris. It's set to launch on the Switch 2 and next generation. Is this going to be a remaster or remake or just get it just a little bit of polish in optimization.
Well, this is from Eurogamer. Sources close to Rockstar relayed the news, who corroborated it with other outlets. So it seems legit. This is Take-Two CEO this week shared the company's great optimism for the Nintendo console ahead of its latest financial briefing. Seemingly, I think we can expect Take-Two games to come over. They've already confirmed Borderlands 4 is on the way. Civ 7 is on the way. It's been a lot of the early trailer stuff. And some 2K sports games, which we know tend to show up, even though they're in lesser versions like NBA 2K and WWE. Zelnick claimed that there's a bigger array of releases than we've got on offer before on the new Nintendo platform. That's now been corroborated behind the scenes. And he's added on there saying, historically, being a third-party Nintendo business has been a bit challenging. I think Nintendo has been very forthcoming addressing that, and we're stepping up too because we've got great optimism for the platform. I think that comes from
power of the hardware and the difficulties to work. Nintendo are the masters at optimizing.
Wii U generation.
The Wii, I'd say even the Switch as well. Nintendo's are the masters of getting the most out for their first-party titles of their hardware. It feels like the hardware is set up to make the games that they want to make. Then third party goes, we need to make for PlayStation and for Xbox and for PC, and then the Switch is suddenly underpowered and very difficult to optimize for what they're doing. Switch 2, I think, now has the power and probably has the base coding to be a bit more compatible with.
And let's not forget the player base as well. The last time Rockstar will have properly looked at it was probably the likelihood that, off the back of the Wii U generation, like, why would you support? Who knows? But then the Switch has gone on to sell 140 million units or something now. So that player base is like, right, it's there, and now they have the tech to back it up on par with the Series S or something, which we know you can play Red Dead 2 on, and a slew of other games. So the other rumor that's came out of this week as well is a GTA 4 port for modern consoles, with a reliable leak is saying that it's also been in development for quite some time as well. I could see that if they've got a GTA 6 being pushed back officially one whole year, they've got that gap now, Take-Two, where it's like, right, how can we dig into our library and build up hype? Grand Theft Auto 4 is a seriously, I think, not undervalued because it did get all the plaudits at the time and stuff, but it's trapped on that kind of PS3 era generation, similar to Resistance, funnily enough. Where I think if that got like a remaster, like a polish up, similar to the trilogy did, it's the kind of only outlier we don't have, Richie. We've got one Vice City and San Andreas repackaged in modern day. We've got 5 in like every version going known to man. Several releases. We're going to have 6. 4 kind of sits in this pocket where it just doesn't exist really in the pantheon of GTA.
Give it a port.
Give it a port.
And a polish.
Get it in a launch window of a brand new console that hopes to reach 140 million users, and then pair it with a potential successful launch of a Red Dead 2 next gen. I think Take-Two could have a good 1-2 punch before GTA 6 even comes out.
Maybe to... Well, I was going to say keep things ticking over financially, but they don't need to do that with Grand Theft Auto. They're fine.
They don't? But, in terms of just a company, like, they could have a pretty damn good financial year before...
They could
even comes out.
What they could do is with the Switch 2 is, because they now have the opportunity to just gradually move them all over. You don't have to do it in one go. Maybe you start with Grand Theft Auto 4 port, then maybe you go to Vice City. You go over to maybe Grand Theft Auto 3. Or from the remasters, let's just get them ported over. Get them over, get the things ticking over, get the sales.
Do it.
Grand Theft Auto prints money, and Red Dead does as well.
Yeah. And just Red Dead natively running on the Switch 2 would be like such a... if you're a gamer and you've maybe not dabbled in, I guess, modern gaming, you've been on the Nintendo bandwagon for quite some time. So you played your Mario, you played Donkey Kongs, all that kind of stuff, your Zeldas, and you've had a great time, no doubt. And then all of a sudden you're playing Red Dead 2 in handheld form on the Switch. It's like... your mind is going to be blown if they can get that to run.
And maybe even Red Dead 1. Red Dead 1 finally came to PC last year.
Yeah, true.
Which is insane. It's such an insane thing.
They're terrible for it.
Yeah.
It's that world we live in, I think we've always said about a decade ago, around the Batman Arkham Asylum time, where games look that damn good, but then great games have an evergreen presence, I feel like. And Red Dead 2 is one of those where if you put that on the Switch, it's such an evergreen, phenomenal game in history. People will buy it because of the kind of gravitas that it holds over the industry. And everyone knows Red Dead, just like everyone knows GTA. Everyone knows FIFA. Everyone knows Call of Duty. It's one of them staples where, yeah, if you get a decent running version of that out on a brand new console in a launch window, it will sell bucket loads because people want to play it on the go without needing to buy a Steam Deck and all your PC twiddly components. They want simple, whack a cartridge in, download it digitally. It's there. And let's face it, Nintendo audience traditionally haven't had many games that have shocking levels of violence in them. So yeah, it's opening
time to traumatize the children.
Absolutely.
You know what won't traumatize the children, Chris? As we're approaching the halfway point, the segue completely fell apart there. I'm sorry, guys. I tried, nothing came to mind. I'm just going to go into it. We're about halfway through the year. What games are you anticipating for the second half of this year? What's on your list of things that you can't wait to get your hands on?
The only I know we said this the start of the year has been so stacked. For me, it's probably time to go back through a couple of the ones that are out now that I want to go and play. The only real one on my list that I'm looking forward to, like absolute hand on heart will buy day one, is going to be Ghost of Yotai if it makes this year. And then aside from that, I want to go back. Like I said, I want to go check out Doom. I want to go check out Expedition 33 is that one that's chipping away at my head. And I feel like I'm going to absolutely adore it, from what our Discord server's saying, from the game reviews I've listened to the Game of the Year conversations. And I'm like, I was listening to someone earlier on this morning actually talking about they finished it now. So they were kind of just reminiscing a little bit about it. And they compared it a lot to Sea of Stars, but in a 3D environment, saying it has that turn-based action, but it does it in such a way that it doesn't feel slow or repetitive.
Yeah.
And I never felt that with Sea of Thieves, and I think you were shocked of how much I enjoyed Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Stars.
Sea of Stars, not Sea of Thieves, yeah.
Very different game.
Get it right. A very different game, yeah. Sea of Stars, and I powered through and I got the platinum for that game, and it was like a game that I've never really, like a genre I've never really spent that much time in outside of Pokemon, really, which they're not really the same thing, but they fit into that genre. And yeah, the things I'm hearing from this, I'm taking everything I loved about Final Fantasy 16, Richie, which again was a first for me, everything I loved about Sea of Stars, which was a first for me, and it sounds like Expedition 33 is a blend of that. And then knowing it's got, did you even know it had Charlie Cox of Daredevil fame as one of the main characters?
I did not. To be honest,
he's one of the main. He gets so much credit for this, by the way. Apparently he's phenomenal in it. It's his first ever mocap job.
After the reviews were so insanely high, I'm looking into it and going, apart from maybe my reservations around about it looks a bit soulsy at times.
Yeah.
This game should be right up my alley. I've kind of went, I don't want to know more. This is so almost certainly the next game I'm playing.
Yeah. Not only Charlie Cox in it, it's got Andy Serkis.
I think I knew that.
Of Gollum fame. I think I knew that one as well. It's also got Ben Starr of Final Fantasy fame. So your three main hitters there, not only they're all English, I just want to point that out.
Isn't it set in France?
Potentially French accents, I'm not too sure.
We're evading, guys. It's happening. Starts next week.
I mean, you're going over. They obviously, I'm sure, have it in the native language as well. This is just the English version. But just the put, like, I think all those three actors are phenomenal. Like, Andy Serkis revolutionised mocap. Ben Starr's doing wonderful things as like an up-and-coming voice actor. But then to have that all kind of like held down by someone who's never done it before in Charlie Cox, I think it's terrific. I'd love to see them all on the stage at the end of the year for some kind of award ceremony.
Yeah. This is an indie game. This is their first title.
This could be what Fairgames wants to be.
How on earth?
Narrative-driven, linear.
How on earth did they get the budget for this?
They spent wisely.
They did. I mean, it's from the same publisher who published things like Sifu as well, which did really well. Cat Quest 3.
Good shit. it's there.
T'Challa. They're the main things I recognise, but Kepler Interactive, worth keeping an eye on.
It's doing everything right. Doing everything right. So yeah.
Going forward from that, you mentioned Ghost of Yotei, and I think everyone listening to this should know how much we both want to get our hands on Ghost of Yotei, to the point where me and my girlfriend have actually discussed buying 2 copies of it so we can play at the same time. The only other one that's jumping out of me going forwards from this point is because there's plenty that's come out already that I'd like to play. You mentioned things like Doom, Claire Obscure. Is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater? It's slated for August. So I feel like my gaming is going to go Oblivion, Claire Obscure, Metal Gear Solid, Ghost of Yotei, and that is a fucking good year.
Yes. Sounds fantastic.
And there's a couple of months between each title there.
Yeah, and we yet to have Summer Game Fests.
Yeah.
Yet. There could be a couple of surprises there that are going to be like out this November.
Hey, Jeff, if you're listening, Jeff Keighley, if you're listening to this, 2026, please, and some of them, not 2025. Just it's fine. Push them back. Just push them back. I want time to play stuff.
Yeah, I did look ahead, by the way, to, I know we said we'd be covering Summer Game Fest live. The Xbox Showcase is that Sunday weekend as well. So I think tactically, we do the podcast Sunday night so we can get that news relevant. So we might not react live to it.
Yeah, we might have to.
But we'll have the news ready because it seems like prevalent to do it. So Monday morning, all the Xbox news is current, rather than wait 7 whole days to get out. But we'll get into that.
We can talk about it. We could potentially just do two live shows and do an Xbox coverage instead of the podcast for that week, because everything that we'd be covering in the podcast would have been from Summer Games Fest or the Xbox thing anyway.
Yeah, we can merge them.
Yeah. So we can have a look at how we want to handle it, but we'll be putting content up. Like Ubisoft are with Riders Republic is going to be made into a movie for some reason. I'm kind of half reading the Push Squared article title there. Are you looking forward to Riders Republic movie, Chris?
No.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't know what it would be.
I mean, the team doing it are the ones who did the Assassin's Creed movie with Michael Fassbender.
That means very little.
That was terrible. But they are also attached to TV shows like Mythic Quest on Apple TV, which is really good. No surprise there because they use Ubisoft Studios to shoot Mythic Quest. So they kind of clearly have like a broadcasting deal with Ubisoft. So that's probably where this came from. It does have a focus on sport, obviously. So they might be leaning more into maybe like the Gran Turismo movie we saw from PlayStation, where it's like it's maybe focused on one up-and-coming character, does really well within the Riders Republic and seeks fame and glory through sport.
You know,
I don't know. This strikes me as one of those games where
actually this could be just a fun kind of action thing where it's like I think you've hit on it. It's going to be an up and comer thing. The Riders Republic is going to be like an annual meeting of like extreme sports where they have to compete using all different disciplines.
Yeah,
and it's his journey through.
Yeah.
Hey,
you going to this year's Rider Republic? Nah, I didn't get tickets, man. I've got one through. Like, it's going to be like that.
If you're thinking just like that very basic plot structure, and now how do we tie in all the set pieces? Well, you've got every single basic extreme sport you could ever imagine that you could play with in terms of your set pieces.
Yeah.
And mix and match them. So there could be... I'm not expecting this... I wouldn't expect it to be a great movie, but it could be a fun one. But...
yeah...
I think if you're doing that kind of thing, you need to keep it grounded, keep your CGI to the minimum, get some decent stunt actors in to do the stunts so they look believable. Get Tom Cruise. Get Tom Cruise.
Just get some pro people in, like pro BMXers, pro snowboarders, and just let them just be in it as, maybe not as actors.
Yeah, don't rely going on CGI because I think that's where it just things like your set pieces will fall a bit flat.
Yeah, it's directed by the Bad Boys. People, the two blokes, Adil Arabi and Bilal Fallah, who did that. So I'm expecting, like, again, good bits of action. I think this is one of those things where just the name Riders Republic kind of makes for a decent movie title.
Yeah. I'm almost talking myself into this. I don't think it's going to be great, but I think it's very much you know what you're getting. He's an hour and a half of fun, to 2 hours of fun set pieces with it's kind of bit by the book narrative through it to tie things together.
Yeah. And telling you what you need to do, just stick Sydney Sweeney in it, and the youth of today will show up for it.
Yeah.
I need him. Win-win right there.
Indeed. But what is a win is Amazon have renewed Fallout for a third season, 6 months before the second arrives. I can't wait for the second season of Fallout, Chris. First season was amazing.
It was. I can't believe how quick the turnaround's been. They've just finished shooting on season 2 now. I saw a viral clip of Walton Goggins, of course, the ghoul from the show. Yeah. Once they finished rapping, he peeled all his prosthetics off to look like he was just ripping his own skin out at the end of it, because it was no longer done. And then they confirmed that's been renewed for season 3, so they're clearly happy with everything that's happened for 2. The turnaround makes me really lament how long we have to wait for The Last of Us, because that's like you got like a 2-year wait almost.
Well,
whereas this is like I feel like I've just finished Fallout and there's more on the way.
It was last year, wasn't it? Fallout. The TV show was last year. They just wrapped on the filming for season 2, so it's going to be next year. It comes out probably.
Yeah, December 2025.
Oh, December, yeah, of course. Year. But you're looking a year and a half probably. When was it? Was April, 2024, the first season. It's about a year and a half.
That's mad, that.
That is actually...
It doesn't feel like yesterday since I watched it.
I think it is kind of slightly unfortunate. I understand why, especially now we're doing the Clickercast. You understand, you see, and you're peering behind the curtain a bit. You understand why these TV shows take a long time, because the amount of attention of detail that goes into just building fairly basic sets that aren't even used that much. Like the amount of time they spent on makeup on things of some of the clickers for a 10-second shot is insane. They spend hours and hours and hours working on it. So that's the amount of work and preparation that needs to go into one of these things. So yes, they take a long time to produce. It's just a shame that they're no longer able to hit that annual cadence anymore for seasons.
It's just the scope, everything getting bigger and more expensive, isn't it? But
I think television is in a better place than it has been in a long time for it.
Yeah. So I guess the follow-up question is, if this is coming December this year, so it'll be here for Christmas, what game tie-in do they have lined up to go? They missed the boat a little bit this time around, remember? And we saw a massive boost in Fallout 76.
The obvious is New Vegas.
And do we see that at the showcase?
Yes.
We're 1 month from a showcase. We're 6 months from season 2.
There's been rumours for quite a while that of a New Vegas remaster, similar to what they've just done with Oblivion. And after Oblivion came out, Phil Spencer was teasing that they had more things like that in the works. The obvious ones for Fallout would either be Fallout 3 or New Vegas. Fallout 4 it's PS4, it's fine. It doesn't really need... You might get a remaster. No one, I think, would say no to it. But it's less necessary than the 3 or New Vegas. New Vegas, I feel, is the one that's slightly more beloved of the two. And the show is ends... Spoilers for the end of Season 1 of Fallout. It looks like some of our key characters are moving towards Las Vegas. So it feels like the show's going in that direction in the world.
I mean, the teaser they put out for season 2 shows
a sign of Las Vegas.
A pre-goal. It shows Walton Goggins getting pitched advertisement deals for like loads of like in-world, in-brand things like Nuka-Cola and stuff. The teaser ends with literally him and Amy Purcell, the other character in it, literally walking towards the Vegas Strip. So it's like, we're going there.
Yeah, so I feel if they're going to do an Oblivion style remaster, it's going to be New Vegas, and it feels like a good idea as well. And it ties in with the show. It feels like everything is pulling that way.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Me either. But you know what you're going to have to wait for? The podcast next week, because that's all we have time for this week. If you've liked the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. But before we do that, this week in video game history, which I almost forgot. What have we got? Starting May the 16th. What's jumping out at you, Chris?
There's only really one. SimCity 3000. 25 years ago. Came out bang on the millennium. And what a game.
I know I've played one of the earlier SimCity. Well, SimCities, I say earlier. They're all earlier now. It might have been 3000. It might have been SimCity. I can't actually remember which one I've played. But SimCity needs to make a comeback.
It does. Another great one, L.A. Noire, came out 14 years ago on PS3 and Xbox 360. That's one of the first games to require 2 discs. 3 discs? Well, I can't remember what it was now.
I don't know.
So
Final Fantasy 7 might be having words with you there, Chris. But Witcher 2, Assassins of the Kings, also came out 14 years ago on PC.
May 18th, we've got Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on N64 and PC.
Nice.
So that was the 1999 movie tie-in.
We played that.
Of course, you can play that now.
Was it Poland that we played? That we went to like a gaming arcade.
Yeah, the arcade one.
Yeah,
with the actual Anakin.
Oh, that was amazing! I had the proper like fog case seat with the controls. Fucking loved that game.
Yeah. Oh, Pod Race is so good. The sound, like all the sound effects from that race are phenomenal. And then the last one for me on here is 15 years ago, 2010. We got the original Alan Wake on Xbox 360.
Well, I'm going to follow that up with 15 years ago. We got Red Dead Redemption on PS3 and Xbox 360.
Oh shit, yeah. Didn't even see that. And Shrek Forever After came out the same time.
Witcher 3 Wild Hunt came out 10 years ago on PC as well.
Damn. We're getting into that gaming season, aren't we, in the summer?
Yeah.
Now, where stuff comes out.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
But as I said, that's all we have time for. Make sure you follow us on social medias at GamerGuildTV, pretty much everywhere you could ask for. Everything's in the links in the description below. Head over to Discord. Say hi to someone. And with that,
hi, someone.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Them exact words, hi someone. That's how I know you've been listening all the way to the end. And with that, my name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
GG everyone. Goodbye.